Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of the tutorial. I'll show you how to actually start editing videos. This part is, I guess you could say this is like a skip, a bit ahead. Now, the last video I just showed you everything about Sony Vegas, so it's all prepared, so you can actually stop the tutorial if you want and start editing like that, but these are more like pointers and tips on how to do certain things. Everything I've set up there is pretty much all you need. But for this part, I'm just going to actually show you one of my videos that's already been uploaded to YouTube, and I'm going to show you how I edited it. Not exactly how I did, but how I can show you how you can do it and how you can learn from it. So let's begin. So right now, you just finished recording from Fraps or your Hauppauge. You got your video on your hard drive, and I'm assuming you have separate audio, so you have it on your computer, saved from Audacity or whatever audio program you use. Now, what you want to do is, if you just drag your video, if you drop it in, it'll generate, like I said before in the last video, a video track and an audio track. So for this, I'm just going to name it video game, and this one is going to be game audio. Oh. There we go. Now that we have that set up, you can actually see it just going. Now this is recorded in 60 FPS. I talked about that in the last video, but if you didn't know and you're watching this video ahead, I don't know why. 60 FPS, it's more clear. YouTube now supports it, so you can now use it. But some people back then just prefer to use 30 FPS. Doesn't matter, you can still record in 60 FPS, but turn it into 30 frames per second. It won't do anything to the video, it'll just make it look, doesn't have that smooth look to it. Anyway, for this video, I have plug and play, me and Peter did. And I'm just gonna show you how, God, this game is weird, how, to set up your project. So once you drop it in, you got this all set up. You notice you got, like, your waveform. Now, mine, as soon as I dropped it in, it showed the whole waveform here. You don't have to, for like me, it just dropped it in, but it actually might show a loading bar here, and it's actually making, the peaks. Some people say cancel it, so it just drops it in, but I don't like that at all. If you actually wait for it to load, it's actually backing up your video and audio and generating the waveform. So when you actually drop your audio in, you know exactly what sound, like let's say, me and Peter started to freak out when these fingers started to touch, and then, or when, this guy was just like, oh no, I died. So as soon as he gets up, you can hear him getting up, or like if there's an explosion, like in Super Mario Sunshine, if I tossed, a barrel of water at someone, I'd be like, oh god, he's all wet, or something like that, and then you know it goes together. So for this, what you want to do is have it all set up. Now, some recording devices do a little weird thing with the audio, so if you right-click just the audio track, not the audio track, the audio clip from the game, if you hit switches and do normalize, you'll notice they make the waveform a little bigger. It's actually outputted to fit your project now. And you want to make sure you have this on preview, just auto. It'll look just as good, but when you have it on best, it'll actually show the actual pixels. And if you notice, you can't really see it there. I'll see if I can get it to like the guy running. Oh, maybe not. I think we'll be okay. But, oh, okay, there. See how you see like a ghost image here and a ghost image there? That's the blending fields I talked about in the last episode, so just watch the last video on how to fix that. But if you're in 60 FPS, you don't have to worry. But if you're in preview mode, it'll actually blend the fields automatically for you, so you can see exactly where to edit. So only leave it on best before you render, and then put it on preview when you're actually editing. So, now that we have our video game here, and that, we're all good to go. Now, for me, if you want to get more technical here, what I do is, I have an intro for my videos. So, what I like to do is separate this to about 1 second in, actually 1 minute. Yeah, it's about 1 minute, right on the spot. And if I go in here, I'm gonna look through all my folders, yay! I think it's in here. Intro. I think this is it right here. We have a lot of changes. So once I load in my intro, I got it all set up. So what I like to do is I drop in another video track. This is a little bit more technical. So once I drop in my video I want, I need another audio track too, because there's audio in my intro. So if we go here to here, we can put it up. And if you notice, here's my intro, then it goes up, and then there's the flames, and then it's black. Now some people ask, like, oh, how'd you make the game appear, like, right after the flames? Well, if you actually match up the video game, like, your game footage, so if you just keep using the arrow keys, you can actually go frame by frame. So, there. That's as soon as the black hits, which is right there. So right before it, what you want to do is hit S, and it'll split the track. So now it's all lined up. So if you click away, it's split. So now if we drag our game there, it's all set up. But if you notice, it's still black, so that's what my video is outputted to. It wasn't like an alpha channel or anything. And then it fades to dark. And then there's the game. But what I do is the video effect. Now, if you go and look under your video effects, you'll notice something called chroma key here. Now, I have one set up and I call it stock footage. If you notice the eye is all gone, it actually eliminates anything that's black. So any background image, basically. You won't have that, but I'm going to make sure you get that in yours. So if you go to default and you just drop it in right on that split track right here, you'll get this tool coming up. And if you keep going over, there you go. So there's the black. So if you hit the color here, and you hit this little sucky ducky tool, and bing, there you go. It got it. Now, if you notice there's a little bit choppy bits there, we can actually tone that up. So if we just bring down the high just a bit, and then the low, put that a little more. Oh, I wasn't even dragging it. There we go. If you want it to be more smooth, bring up the high. If you want it to be more crusty, bring it down. But for me, I like to have it nice and smooth. So we get it to about there. If you notice, it actually deletes some of the flames, but it also makes it still have the look. If you want it to have a bit more of a look, you can use blur. But I find blur kind of messes it up a bit, like it looks shaded. So I just like to have it off. So once you got that set up, you can actually delete where it says default and write stock footage or black screen or whatever you want. If you're doing an intro, kind of like that one. But if your intro just goes and then it just, when the intro's done, it just does that. There's no custom transition like my flames are. Then you don't have to worry about this. But this is something if you want to do, because I had questions about it. So for that, I'm just going to leave it. So if you notice right now, you'll play the intro, da 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 da, and then there it is. There's plug and play right after the flames, just like my videos. So if we actually play it, right. So now that that's all set up, another thing too, if you don't like the audio, if you think the intro's too loud or something, you also have your master audio output. I suggest you just leave it the way it is, and don't fiddle with that. Just kind of leave it around where it needs to be, because if you notice when I start playing the audio, it's around 6 or 3, which is pretty normal. So you want it to be right around 9 or 6. I know my intro's a little loud, so sometimes I always tone it down a bit, just like that. You can also tone down the whole track section here, but sometimes I add in effects. But if you wanted to get more technical too, you can always put another audio track in. So, now that we have that, what we want to do is add me and Peter's voice. Now, I did say me and Peter used 2 different tracks, but for this, I actually blended our 2 voices together in the same clip, just for this tutorial. I'll show you how to do the left and right track, though. So, what you do is drop it in. So, some people like to do a countdown. They play their audio, like, they record their audio first, do a countdown, and then when they say go, they hit start on their recorder, and that's how they match it up. Me and Peter don't really do that. What I do is, you can actually see the waveform. This is us talking, so if we actually just mute this track, and we actually play it. Oh, my bad. Let's do the intro. Alright, so, are you ready?
Yep.
Alright. Hello! That's when I start talking. So, what we have to do here is, when we just bring this down, you can actually zoom in with your mouse wheel, and it'll go up to where your timeline is. Right here, this is when I start saying, hello everyone, and blah blah blah, welcome to the video. So if you just take that, bring it over here, and sorry, I got a fiddly mouse. Match it up right on the spot of the game, because I start saying it as soon as I see the green light or the red numbers and fraps. So once I have it, it'll be like this. Hello everyone and welcome to Gas Brothers. I am here with Peter, and this is a very interesting game. There we go, it's all set up. Now, you guys can probably hear the audio from the video, but I actually have a glitch in my tutorial, so I actually can't hear it. I can only hear it faintly. So you may notice the gain here is actually pretty loud a bit, like me and Peter's voice. Welcome to Gas Brothers. I am here with Peter, and this is a very interesting game. Just a little
plug
bit.
and play.
We
played it like weeks
hitting
ago,
it at 1.
and we thought we should do a video on it.
What we want to do
I'm going to do a
is
narration of telling you what it's about.
bring this,
Hello, everyone,
and we can actually just drop this down. You can just do the equation. So, like, if we're just peaking above that, you could just do, like, -1. Now when we talk...
Hello, everyone, and
There we go.
welcome
Now we're
to
actually just
Gas
peaking
Brothers. I
a
am
little
here
more
with
under it, so
Peter,
it's not as,
and this is a very interesting
video
game.
heavy. So, what we can do now, another thing you could do, instead of changing the whole track, you can also just drag this down, and it'll actually shrink the whole waveform. Now, you can normalize it, but I believe our tracks are already normalized by default. Yeah, I toned it down a bit, but not too much. So now we have it all set up, our audio is matched up with each point. You can actually notice the waveform in the game actually goes with the audio of our voices. Like, for this video, I was doing a dialogue. So I was be like, oh, he's running, and then he faints, and blah, blah, blah. So if you notice, I actually go dead silent a little bit right around here, because it starts doing the chat, so we know the video fits. So the game's talking, and then as soon as it goes on for a little bit, because Peter's goofing around and it walks away, I start talking again. There's another conversation. So we know it fits, we know the waveform is all good, and it's working. Now, that is pretty much all you need to do. I do have an outro too, but it's basically just like how I did with the intro, except backwards. You just drop in the clip at the end, and what I do is I have a flash transition above it. So all I do is just go to this one, and then default flash. I toned it a little bit, like just slightly differently than the default, so you can have whatever one you want. I know the yellow flash is really cool. It's kind of like the Sonic 2 when you go to a special zone. It's like, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you guys are into that thing. Anyway, that's pretty much all you gotta do to set up the video, and it actually looks just like so. When you're done, and you want your video to be ready, what you're going to do is go to set this to best. So now it's all set up, and oh, that was a great clip to look at right there. God damn it. So anyway, you have that all set up. Now, if you go to File, oh, my bad. So if you actually double click, I should explain this. These blue lines will come up, and it'll capture everything on this clip because you double clicked it. But if you actually zoom in, because your intro might be a little short, have it right about there. So now it's got my intro and the whole video. So now if you go to File, Render As, so that's a project or thing I was doing. So I have these set up. You should have a template set up, so I'm going to show you how to make one right now. This is the render settings you kind of want to have, but first of all, if you hit Browse, you can set what folder it's going to go to for your video to upload to YouTube for later or right away. Right here, you can actually write the name when you're in the Browse section, but you can actually just delete everything here and write like Plug and Play, me and Peter's favorite game or something like that. Now, if you go to Sony, AVC, MVC, if I actually do the match project settings, it won't come up. I have it on favorites only. So you'll get this whole list when you start off. So what you want to do is look for the Sony AVC/MVC because you want to render in MP4, M2TS, and AVC. If you don't get this, I know sometimes installing QuickTime from Apple works too, but sometimes it only just gives you the .mov. But with most Sony Vegases now, they come with this. So versus internet, you don't really want to worry about that one too much. So, wow, I actually have a lot here. Oh, there's my other one. Good. Now it's favorited. Good. So, what I have is two different versions. So if we go to the internet, depending on which one, like I said before, if you're 4 gigabytes and a 4-core processor and under, go to 720p at 30 FPS. If you have a 6-core and 8-core processor in your computer, and you have 8 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM, it'll render quickly. Like, it'll probably be like 20 minutes to a half hour, depending on how long the video is. I'm guessing you guys are rendering or recording your videos at 10 minutes. So once you have that set, if you hit right here, customize template, you'll actually open up the window, and it's kind of like the settings for the project. So what you want to do is leave this as AVC. For this, depending if you want to go 1080p, pick this one. And if you want 720p, just pick this one. As you can see, it says 1080 there and 720 there. Ignore this one. That's for like in between, and you'll get like black bars around the top or middle or the side. Next, you want to have your profile on high. You want to leave that. And now, like I said before, if you want higher FPS, if you want 60 FPS, bump it up to 59. It'll be 60i, so it'll fit, and YouTube will be like, oh, 60 FPS. It might not notice it right away, but it'll notice it. But if you want it back at normal, just do NTSC, which is 30 FPS. You want to leave this on none, leave that. Now the bit rate. This is a little thing I played around with over the years. I'm still fiddling with it. So that's by default. Now, the more memory and bits you put into your video, the more quality or texture it's going to look just like the original project when you recorded it. Now, if your recorder is like, I don't know, I'm not insulting anyone, but if it's like low quality or like a cheap one and you only get like 480p, then it's not going to enhance it. If you raise this, it's actually just going to make it look worse. So you're just overdoing the work. So what I suggest, if you're doing 1080p, select the 4 and actually delete it and make it 8. And if you set it to 720p, I suggest doing a 6. Because if your project settings are already clear, like your video footage is already clear enough to see, then it's going to be good enough to just render out as it is. It's not going to really tone it up or specify it. Because if you, people think, oh, this is going to leave it as pure HD. If you do that, yeah, it might look really good. But you're going to wait, a long time to render. And if you're a Let's Player like me, you know you got to get videos up, weekly or something. Or, throughout the week. Or daily or something. And you can't do that if you're rendering. If your rendering takes, 4 hours, that's way too long. An hour and a half is probably longest for me. So on my computer right now, I got an 8-core processor, and I got 12 gigabytes of RAM, so I'm not really worried. So if you set that to just 8, that should be good. Sometimes I fooled around with 14, but not a lot. Or 10. If you want to bump it up to 10, go ahead. Now, slices you want to leave as 1, and encode mode. Now, this is a little fiddly a bit. So, if you have a lot of cooling in your computer, or you know you're using a desktop, and you have a good graphics card, has, if it's a gigabyte graphics card, or 2 gigabyte, you can actually set this as render using the GPU. And that's using your graphics card, and it'll render. It might go faster because your GPU might be faster than your CPU. But if you have an 8-core, I suggest just leaving it as a CPU only. If you do have a good one, then I suggest you just leave it as a GPU. But if you don't have a good graphics card, set as CPU. Never leave it as automatic, because sometimes it bounces in between, and it could cut footage or the audio in your video and glitches, I noticed. So if you don't want to change it, leave a CPU, but if you do have a good graphics card and you know it, you have a gaming PC and you can record and stuff, use the GPU. But one thing, if you do use GPU, you want to have this enabled too. So if you go to System tab, check your GPU, CUDA is available, good. So if you notice it says CUDA is available with your graphics card and everything, go ahead, you can use GPU. If it doesn't say it's available or error or something, use your CPU. Alright? I think we got that out of the way. Now for audio, you want to make sure this box is checked. Same under the video one, which I just showed you back there. So you want to have all this, just by default, is all good. System, we already checked. Now, this video rendering quality under project tab, you want to change it to use project settings. If you use it as best, it's actually going to override everything we just set in there, which makes it pointless. But if we just use as use project settings, it'll work just as good. It's actually going to use, since we are set to best full, it's going to use that. But if you just put on best, it's just going to put on the default of best, but not the max output of it. This, you want to leave, because your videos are not 3D. You want to leave it as default. Now, if you don't really care about quality and how things look in your video, like you don't really fiddle around, you just kind of put your audio in and upload it and let people see, then just leave it as good or preview. You can do that if you want to max it out, like I showed you, best and the use project settings. So once you have all that, what you want to do is go up here and call it render setting. Oh, my bad. Settings for YouTube at 1080p or 720p, and then you can actually delete this if you want and write, this is my awesome description for 1080p video footage. And once you got that set, all you do is hit save, and it'll actually be saved there, but I already have one. So once you have it saved, you'll actually notice it in the list under this tab, where mine are too. If you actually see the star, I don't know if the old versions do, but the new one does. If you actually hit the star and you can hit this, whenever you hit render, you'll actually see the render settings. So once you have that, you click it. Remember to hit render loop region only, which is only going to render the blue bar here. And once you got all that set, hit render, and away you go, and your video will start rendering. And it'll go to where the project is, and it's all ready for YouTube. So that's pretty much it. For the whole aspect part of how to edit and how to put it together. This is just a simplified version. There is more technical stuff you can do, but I don't think I should go on anymore. I can't really expand it on this one, but I will show another one. This is going to be the basic video editing. In the next episode, I'm going to show you more advanced techniques if you want to try. But if you just want to like get your voice here and that, you're all set to go. And everything's good to go. So, other than that, I hope this helped. Leave a like, subscribe, and message me if you need any help with anything. I am always waiting for help. I don't mind helping anyone in need with anything. I've helped a lot of people in the past. I help make intros for people out there. So anyway, have a great day. And I hope to see you soon on Gasbusters for the win.